The morning shift bell rang through Nexus Prime Station like a giant metal heartbeat. Lihana pushed her cleaning cart down the main corridor, her small frame nearly invisible among the crowds of alien traders and diplomats. Her gray uniform was plain and unremarkable. Her black hair was tied back in a simple ponytail that had seen better days. A massive Vorthak trader bumped into her cart without looking down. The alien was easily 3 times her height, with thick purple skin and 4 powerful arms. He grunted something rude in his native language and kept walking. Hana simply nodded politely and moved her cart out of the way. To everyone around her, she was just another human worker. The galaxy was full of them. Humans did the jobs nobody else wanted to do. They cleaned floors, fixed broken machines, and served food in the lower levels of space stations. They were weak, small, and harmless. At least that was what everyone believed. Hana pulled out her spray bottle and began cleaning the windows that looked out into deep space. Her movements were slow and careful. She had been doing this job for 8 months now. Every alien on the station knew her face, but none of them really saw her. She was part of the background, like the walls or the air recycling systems. But while her hands moved the cleaning cloth in small circles, her eyes were doing something entirely different. She was watching everything. She noticed how the Kraylan security guards changed shifts every 4 hours. She saw which merchants carried illegal weapons hidden in their robes. She counted how many ships docked each day and where they came from. A group of Quillan diplomats slithered past her, their snake-like bodies moving in smooth waves. They were speaking in low voices about trade agreements and shipping routes. One of them accidentally knocked over her bottle of cleaning solution with his tail. He did not stop to apologize or help clean up the mess. Hana knelt down to pick up the bottle. While she was down there, she placed a small device no bigger than a grain of rice under the edge of a nearby bench. The device would record conversations for the next 72 hours. She had placed dozens of similar devices throughout the station over the past few months. As she stood up, she heard something that made her freeze. 2 Kraylan officers were walking toward her, deep in conversation. The Kraylans were tall humanoids with gray skin and sharp features. They wore military uniforms covered in medals and ribbons. "The shipment arrives tomorrow," one of them was saying in Kraylan language. "General Vextar wants everything ready for the next phase." "What about the human colonies in the Outer Rim?" the second officer asked. "Our scouts report their defenses are weak. Perfect targets for testing our new weapons," the first officer replied with a harsh laugh. "Those pathetic humans won't know what hit them." Hana continued cleaning the window, but every word burned itself into her memory. The Kraylans walked right past her, never once looking in her direction. To them, she was invisible. They had no idea she understood every word of their conversation. After the Kraylans disappeared around a corner, Hana finished her work and moved to the next section. Her cleaning route took her through the commercial district, past the diplomatic quarters and down to the docking bays. It looked random, but every step was carefully planned. She needed to cover as much ground as possible while staying invisible. In the docking bay, she saw something that made her heart race. 3 Kraylan warships had arrived during the night. They were sleek and deadly-looking, with weapon ports along their hulls. Maintenance crews were already loading supplies onto the ships. But these were not normal supplies. Hana recognized the containers being loaded. They were weapon crates from the Nexari pirates, the most violent criminals in this part of the galaxy. The Kraylans and the pirates were working together. This was bad news for everyone, especially humans. She cleaned her way closer to the ships, emptying trash containers and wiping down surfaces. Nobody paid attention to her. A Nexari pirate captain with tentacles for arms was talking to a Kraylan commander. They were planning something big, something that would happen soon. "The human ships are slow and poorly defended," the pirate captain was saying. "We can capture them easily." "Good," the Kraylan commander replied. "We need prisoners for questioning. The more we know about human military tactics, the easier it will be to crush Earth." Hana felt cold anger building in her chest, but her face showed nothing. She continued working, cleaning around their feet like a faithful servant. They talked for another 10 minutes about raid plans and target selections. Every word was stored in her perfect memory. When her shift ended, Hana returned to her small quarters in the human worker section of the station. The room was tiny, with just a bed, a desk, and a small bathroom. The walls were thin, and she could hear her neighbors talking through the metal panels. She sat on her bed and waited. After an hour, she was sure nobody was watching. Then she moved to the wall behind her desk and pressed her hand against a specific spot. A hidden panel slid open, revealing a small compartment. Inside the compartment were things that no cleaning lady should own. There was a military-grade communication device, several weapons that could kill aliens twice her size, and medical supplies for treating serious wounds. But the most important item was a small data pad that contained her real identity. Lieutenant Commander Lee Hanna of the Human Defense Corps, Phantom Division. Age 28, 15 years of military service. Expert in 47 different combat techniques. Fluent in 23 alien languages. Mission status classified at the highest level. She activated the communication device and began composing her report. The Kralins and pirates were planning to attack human colonies. They thought humans were weak and easy targets. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. Hanna looked at her reflection in the small mirror on her desk. She saw a tired cleaning lady with rough hands and worn clothes, but behind her dark eyes was something else entirely, something that had been waiting patiently for 8 months. She was a hunter, and her prey had finally shown themselves. The communication device hummed softly in the darkness of Hanna's quarters. She waited for the encryption protocols to connect her to Earth, thousands of light years away. The signal had to bounce through 17 different relay stations to avoid detection by alien monitoring systems. A familiar voice crackled through the speaker. "Ghost 7, this is command report. Colonel Park," Hanna whispered into the device. "I have urgent intelligence." Colonel Park Jiwon had been her handler for 3 years. He was a careful man who never took unnecessary risks with his operatives. Hanna knew he was sitting in a secure bunker beneath Seoul, surrounded by screens showing the locations of dozens of human agents scattered across alien space. "Go ahead, Ghost 7, Park said. Hanna gave her report quickly and efficiently. The Kralin Pirate Alliance, the planned attacks on human colonies, the weapon shipments she had witnessed. Park listened without interruption, occasionally asking for clarification on technical details. "How certain are you about the timeline?" Park asked when she finished. "Very certain. They're moving fast. I estimate we have less than 2 weeks before the first attacks begin." There was a long pause. Hanna could hear Park typing commands into his computer. He was probably cross-referencing her intelligence with reports from other Ghost operatives throughout the galaxy. "Ghost 7, we're upgrading your mission priority to Alpha Red. You are now our primary source on this operation. We need everything you can get on their command structure, battle plans, and weapon capabilities." Hanna felt a familiar tightness in her chest. Alpha Red missions had a very low survival rate, but human colonies were at stake. Innocent families who had no idea that death was coming for them. Understood, Command. What additional resources do I have? There's another Ghost operative on your station. Agent Kim Minho, call sign Ghost 12. He's been tracking weapons shipments through the cargo systems. We're authorizing joint operations between you two. This was unusual. Ghost operatives normally worked alone. The fact that Command was risking 2 agents meant the situation was worse than she had thought. "How do I identify Ghost 12? Hanna asked. "He works as a maintenance technician in the lower levels. Korean male, 26 years old, scar on his left hand from a plasma burn. Use the recognition code Busan Harbor when you make contact." The communication ended with a soft click. Hanna carefully packed the device back into its hiding place and prepared for another day of invisible surveillance. The next morning brought new challenges. General Vextar himself had arrived on the station during the night. Hanna saw his personal transport ship in the VIP docking bay as she began her cleaning rounds. The ship was massive and heavily armed, painted in the black and gold colors of the Kralin military elite. Security around the station had tripled overnight. Kralin soldiers stood at every major intersection, checking identification cards and scanning for weapons. Hanna moved through the checkpoints easily. Her cleaning lady identity was so well established that the guards barely looked at her. But finding Ghost 12 would be more difficult now. The lower levels were crawling with security teams, and any unusual behavior would be noticed immediately. Hanna spent the morning cleaning the upper levels near the diplomatic quarters. She needed to appear normal while looking for opportunities to slip away. Around midday, she got her chance. A minor power failure in the environmental systems gave her an excuse to check the maintenance areas below. She took the service elevator down to level 7, the deepest part of the station that most visitors never saw. The corridors here were narrower and darker, filled with the constant humming of machinery. Water recyclers, air processors, and power distribution systems kept the station alive. A man in a blue maintenance uniform was working on a control panel near the elevator. He was Korean, about the right age, and when he reached for a tool, Hana saw the scar on his left hand. She approached him casually, pushing her cart full of cleaning supplies. "Excuse me," she said in Korean. "Do you know if the restrooms on this level need cleaning?" He looked up at her with sharp, intelligent eyes. After a moment, he smiled. "I don't think many people come down here to visit Busan Harbor," he said quietly. That was the recognition code. Hana felt a wave of relief. "I'm Hana," she said, keeping her voice low. "Minho," he replied. "We should talk, but not here. Too many ears in the walls." They arranged to meet later in a storage room that Minho had identified as safe from surveillance. For the rest of the day, they went about their normal duties, never acknowledging each other when their paths crossed. That evening, Hana made her way to the storage room. It was filled with spare parts for the station systems, creating plenty of hiding spots and making electronic surveillance difficult. Minho was already there, sitting on a crate of spare circuit boards. In the dim light, Hana could see that he was more than just a maintenance worker. His posture was too alert, his eyes too watchful. This was a man who had been trained to kill. "How long have you been on the station?" she asked. 14 months, he replied. "I've been tracking weapon shipments and money transfers. The pirates have been buying military-grade equipment from at least 6 different species. What about the Krillin involvement?" "That's new. 3 weeks ago, they started sending officers to coordinate with the pirates. Something big is definitely happening." Hana shared what she had learned about the planned attacks on human colonies. Minho's expression grew darker as she spoke. "I've seen the shipping manifests," he said. "They're moving enough firepower to level entire cities. But there's something else you need to know." He pulled out a small data pad and showed her a series of encrypted communications he had intercepted. "They have inside information about human defense systems. Someone is feeding them detailed intelligence about our military capabilities." The words hit Hana like a physical blow. A traitor, someone with access to classified information, was helping the aliens plan their attacks. "Any idea who?" she asked. "Not yet, but whoever it is, they have very high clearance. The information they're sharing comes from the deepest levels of Defense Corps planning. They spent the next hour comparing their intelligence and planning their next moves." The partnership felt natural, like they had worked together for years instead of hours. Both of them understood that they were now hunting something much more dangerous than a simple pirate alliance. As they prepared to leave the storage room, Minho grabbed her arm gently. "Hana," he said, "if this goes bad, if our covers get blown, we complete the mission," she finished. "No matter what," he nodded. They both knew the stakes. Somewhere out there, human families were living normal lives, unaware that death was coming for them. The only thing standing between those families and destruction was 2 invisible people pretending to be janitors. The hunt had begun. 3 days passed before Hana and Minho could meet again safely. The station buzzed with increased activity as more alien ships arrived each day. Krillin warships, Nixari pirate vessels, and cargo freighters from species that Hana had never seen before all docked at the expanding facility. General Vextar had transformed an entire section of the diplomatic level into his personal command center. Hana watched Krillin technicians install advanced communication equipment and holographic displays. Whatever they were planning was bigger than a simple raid on human colonies. During her morning cleaning routine, Hana overheard a conversation between 2 Krillin intelligence officers. They were discussing prisoner transport schedules and interrogation protocols. The words made her blood run cold. "The humans we captured from the mining station talked easily enough," one officer said. "Their defensive positions, communication codes, even their patrol schedules." "Excellent," replied the other. "Admiral Song's information was accurate. These humans have no idea how to conduct proper security." Admiral Song. Hana memorized the name while continuing to wipe down nearby surfaces. This was their first real lead on the human traitor. That afternoon, she made her way to the storage room where she and Minho had agreed to meet. He was already there, working on what looked like a standard maintenance scanner. But Hana could see modifications that turned it into a sophisticated surveillance device. "I've been monitoring their communications," Minho said, without looking up from his work. "The scope of this operation is massive. They're calling it Operation Cleansing. Cleansing of what? Humanity. Minho's voice was flat and cold. They want to break our will to resist by attacking civilian targets first. Make us so afraid that we'll surrender without a real fight. Hana sat down heavily on a nearby crate. She had seen war before, had fought in battles that left entire planets scarred. But this was different. This was genocide disguised as military strategy. How many ships are we looking at? She asked. My best estimate is over 300 vessels of various sizes. Enough firepower to level Earth's major cities if our orbital defenses fail. Minho showed her the data he had collected. Ship manifests, crew rosters, weapon inventories. The Alliance had been planning this for months, maybe years. They had studied human psychology, human military tactics, even human culture to find the most effective ways to break their spirit. There's something else, Minho continued. I've been tracking the money transfers funding this operation. The credits aren't just coming from pirate raids. Someone with access to major galactic banks is financing this war. Corporate backing, maybe. Or government funding from species that want to see humanity eliminated as a competitor. Either way, we're not just fighting pirates and the Kreelan military. This is a coordinated effort by multiple alien civilizations. They spent 2 hours going over the intelligence, finding connections and patterns in the data. Hana's training and strategic analysis proved invaluable as she identified key vulnerabilities in the alien alliance. But they still needed more information about the command structure and timeline. I need to get closer to General Vextar, Hana said. His personal quarters, his private meetings. That's where we'll find the operational details. Too dangerous, Minho replied immediately. The security around him is too tight. One mistake and you're dead. I've been invisible for 8 months. I can stay invisible a little longer. But even as she said it, Hana knew the risks were increasing. More security meant more eyes watching, more chances for someone to notice something unusual about the quiet cleaning lady. The next morning brought unexpected challenges. A Quillan security chief named Sistok had arrived on the station with a team of investigators. The Quillans were known throughout the galaxy for their paranoid attention to detail. If anyone could discover the ghost operatives, it would be them. Hana watched from a distance as Sistok conducted his first security briefing. His snake-like body coiled and uncoiled as he spoke, and his golden eyes missed nothing. He was already asking questions about the human staff, wanting detailed background checks on everyone. Humans are weak but clever, she heard him tell the other security officers. They hide things. They lie with smiles on their faces. We must watch them all very carefully. This was bad, very bad. Hana's false identity was good, but it wouldn't hold up under serious investigation by experts. She needed to accelerate her timeline. That day, she volunteered for extra cleaning duties in the VIP section. The other human workers were happy to let her take the dangerous assignment of cleaning near the alien commanders. They had no idea she was walking directly into the most secure area of the station. General Vextar's quarters were heavily guarded, but Hana had noticed a pattern in the security rotation. For 15 minutes each day during the shift change, there was a small gap in coverage. Not enough time for a normal person to accomplish anything useful. But Hana was not a normal person. She timed her approach perfectly, arriving with her cleaning cart just as the guards were changing positions. The new guards assumed she had been cleared by their predecessors. The old guards thought the new team would handle any problems. Inside Vextar's quarters, Hana worked quickly. She planted listening devices in locations that would never be found during routine sweeps. Behind picture frames, inside light fixtures, even sewn into the fabric of his furniture. The most valuable prize was access to his personal computer terminal. While appearing to clean the desk, Hana inserted a data chip that would copy all of his files. The download would take 3 minutes, the longest 3 minutes of her life. She cleaned methodically around the room, every movement calculated to appear normal. Her heart pounded, but her hands remained steady. This was what she had trained for her entire adult life. The data chip finished its work just as voices approached from the corridor. Hana palmed the device and moved to the window, spraying cleaning solution on the glass. When General Vextar entered with 2 of his officers, she was just another invisible servant doing her job. They spoke freely in front of her, discussing battle plans and target priorities as if she wasn't there. Hana learned that the first attacks would begin in 6 days. Human colonies in the Outer Rim would be hit simultaneously, designed to look like random pirate raids until it was too late. But the most important information came near the end of their meeting. Admiral Song confirms that Earth's defense satellites have a critical vulnerability in their shield generators, Vextar said. If we can exploit that weakness, the planet's orbital defenses will collapse within hours. The human traitor wasn't just providing intelligence. He was actively sabotaging Earth's defenses, creating weaknesses that the aliens could exploit. As Hana left the quarters with her cart, she knew she had enough information to warn Earth and possibly prevent the attacks. But she also knew her time was running out. Sasethak's investigation would eventually uncover her true identity. The hunt was entering its most dangerous phase. The morning of the fourth day brought chaos to Nexus Prime Station. Ships arrived every hour, disgorging alien commanders from dozens of hostile species. The station's docking bays overflowed with vessels of war. Hana had never seen so many different alien military forces gathered in one place. General Vextar had called for a grand war council. Every species committed to Operation Cleansing would send representatives to finalize their attack plans. For Hana and Minho, this represented the intelligence opportunity of a lifetime, but it also meant walking into a room filled with the most dangerous beings in the galaxy. Hana requested special assignment to clean the conference areas. The station supervisor, a tired-looking human named Lee Dong-yun, was happy to give her the dangerous job. Most of the other workers were terrified of being anywhere near the alien war leaders. Just keep your head down and work fast, Dong-yun warned her. Don't look at them directly. Don't listen to their conversations. Do your job and get out. If only he knew, Hana thought. Listening to their conversations was exactly why she was there. The main conference hall had been transformed into a high-security meeting space. Force shields blocked the entrances. Armed guards stood at every door and scanning devices checked for weapons and recording equipment. But nobody scanned the cleaning lady's supplies very carefully. Hidden in her spray bottles and cleaning cloths were the most advanced surveillance devices that human technology could create. Each one was smaller than a grain of sand and completely undetectable by standard security sweeps. As alien commanders filed into the hall, Hana worked quietly in the background. She recognized many of them from intelligence briefings during her training. Forthak generals who had destroyed entire star systems, Nexari pirate lords who collected human slaves for sport, Quillan admirals known for their cruelty to prisoners. And at the head of the table sat General Vexitar himself, his gray skin marked with ritual scars that showed his rank in Kreelan society. He was smaller than many of the other commanders, but when he spoke, everyone listened. Operation Cleansing begins in 72 hours, he announced. The first wave will target 12 human colonies simultaneously. We will make it look like random pirate attacks until the humans realize the scope of what is happening. A massive Vorthak commander raised one of his forearms. What about Earth's defensive fleet? Our intelligence suggests they have over 200 warships. Admiral Song has provided us with detailed information about their capabilities, Vextar replied. Their ships are fast but lightly armored. More importantly, he has created vulnerabilities in their orbital defense system. When we attack Earth, their protective shields will fail. Hana continued cleaning while every word burned itself into her memory. The data she was collecting would save millions of human lives, but only if she could get it to Earth in time. A Quillan commander uncoiled from his position and activated a holographic display. These are the primary targets for the second wave, he said, his voice hissing through razor-sharp teeth. Population centers on Earth itself. We will break their spirit by destroying their cities. The hologram showed Earth's major population centers marked for destruction: Seoul, Tokyo, New York, London, São Paulo. Billions of people who had no idea death was coming for them. The psychological impact will be devastating, added a Nexari pirate captain. Humans are emotional creatures. When they see their homeworld burning, they will surrender rather than watch their families die. General Vextar nodded approvingly. Admiral Song assures us that human military doctrine prioritizes protecting civilians over strategic objectives. They will sacrifice their fleets to defend their cities, making them easy targets for our superior firepower. As the meeting continued, Hana learned the full scope of the alien plan. It wasn't just military conquest they wanted. They intended to enslave the surviving human population, using them as laborers in the most dangerous industries. Humans would become a servant species, kept alive only as long as they remained useful. But the most shocking revelation came near the end of the meeting. "What about the other human agents?" asked a Vorthak commander. "Our sources suggest there may be spies among the station workers." General Vextar smiled coldly. "Sithak's investigation has identified several suspicious humans. We will deal with them after the operation begins. Dead spies cannot warn their homeworld." Hana's blood turned to ice. They knew, maybe not her specifically, but they suspected that human agents were operating on the station. Her time had just run out. The meeting ended with final coordination details and departure schedules. As the alien commanders filed out of the hall, Hana finished her cleaning duties with mechanical precision. Her mind was already racing ahead to the next phase of her mission. She had the intelligence Earth needed, but now she faced the problem of getting it home alive. That evening, she met Minho in their usual storage room. His face was grim as she shared what she had learned in the War Council. 72 hours, he said quietly. Not enough time for Earth to prepare proper defenses. "It is if we can identify the vulnerabilities that Admiral Song created," Hana replied. "Earth's engineers are the best in the galaxy. Give them the right information and they can fix anything. First, we have to survive long enough to transmit that information. Sithak's people have been asking questions about us specifically. Someone reported seeing us together." Hana felt the familiar tightness in her chest that came before combat. Their covers were compromised. Soon they would have to stop being invisible and become what they really were. "How long do we have?" she asked. "Hours, maybe less." "I intercepted a security bulletin with our descriptions. They're planning to arrest all suspicious human workers tonight." They looked at each other across the dim storage room. Both of them knew what came next. 8 months of careful invisibility was about to end in the most violent way possible. "Can you get a message to Earth?" Hana asked. "I can try, but the transmission will take time, and once I start sending, they'll triangulate our position within minutes." Hana nodded. She had always known this mission might be one way. The important thing was making sure the intelligence reached the people who could use it. "Do it," she said. "I'll buy you time." "Hana, I'm the better fighter and you know it. Besides, someone needs to survive this to confirm the transmission went through." Minho's jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. They both knew she was right. "There's something else you need to know," he said. "I've identified Admiral Song. Admiral Song Hyunwoo, commander of the 3rd Defense Fleet. He's been feeding the aliens information for over a year." The name hit Hana like a physical blow. She knew Song Hyunwoo. He had been her instructor at the academy, a decorated hero who had fought in the border wars. The betrayal was worse than she had imagined. "Why?" was all she could manage to say. "I don't know. Maybe they have something on him. Maybe they're paying him. Maybe he actually believes humanity can't win. Does it matter?" It didn't matter. What mattered was stopping him and saving Earth. They spent the next hour preparing for what might be their final mission. Hana retrieved her hidden weapons while Minho programmed the transmission protocols. Soon every alien on the station would know exactly what 2 invisible humans were capable of. The hunt was about to become open warfare. The alarm started at 300 station time. Hana was already awake, sitting fully dressed on her narrow bed. She had been expecting this moment for hours, ever since Minho warned her that their time was up. Security teams pounded on doors throughout the human worker quarters. She could hear shouting in multiple alien languages as they dragged people from their rooms for questioning. The other workers were terrified and confused. They had no idea why they were suddenly being treated as dangerous criminals. 3 Quillen security officers approached her door. Hana listened to their slithering movement in the corridor and prepared herself for what came next. The door burst open without warning. The lead Quillen, a female with bright yellow scales, entered with a plasma rifle aimed at Hana's chest. "Human worker Lee Hana, you will come with us for questioning," the alien hissed in broken standard. "Of course," Hana replied meekly. "Is there a problem?" "I was just sleeping." The Quillen's golden eyes studied her carefully. "You will bring nothing. Move slowly." Hana stood and walked toward the door with her hands visible. The Quillens were being careful, but not careful enough. They saw a small, frightened human woman in a nightgown. They had no idea they were looking at one of humanity's most lethal weapons. In the corridor, she saw other human workers being herded toward the security center. Most of them were crying or begging for explanations. The aliens showed no mercy, using electric prods to keep their prisoners moving. As they walked through the station, Hana memorized everything. Guard positions, weapon placements, emergency exits. Soon she would need to know every detail of the station's layout. The security center had been converted into an interrogation facility, holding cells lined one wall while questioning rooms occupied the other. The main area buzzed with activity as dozens of alien security officers processed their human prisoners. Sesthak himself was overseeing the operation. The Quillen security chief moved between the cells like a predator selecting his next meal. When his eyes fell on Hana, she saw intelligence there that made her muscles tense. "This one," he said to his subordinates. "She is different from the others." They placed Hana in a holding cell with 3 other human workers. The women were terrified, huddling together and whispering prayers in various languages. Hana sat quietly in the corner, appearing to be just as frightened as the rest. But inside her mind, she was counting. Counting guards, counting weapons, counting the seconds until Minho would begin his transmission to Earth. 2 hours passed before they came for her. 4 guards this time, including 2 massive Vorthak soldiers. Someone had decided she was particularly dangerous. The interrogation room was small and windowless. A metal table sat in the center with a chair on each side. Sesthak was waiting for her, his serpentine body coiled behind the far chair. "Sit," he commanded. Hana obeyed, keeping her eyes downcast. She was still playing the role of a frightened cleaning lady, but she could feel the performance wearing thin. "You have been on this station for 8 months, Sesthak began. "In that time you have displayed certain patterns of behavior that concern us." "I don't understand," Hana replied. "I just clean floors and empty trash. I don't cause any trouble." "No, you do not cause trouble, but you observe everything. You listen to conversations that should not interest a simple worker. You ask no questions about your assignments. Never complain about the treatment you receive from your superiors." Sesthak moved closer, his golden eyes studying her face. "Most humans are emotional creatures. They gossip, they argue, they form social groups. But you do none of these things. You are invisible, but invisibility can be its own form of visibility." Hana said nothing. Every word could be a trap. "I have reviewed security footage from the past month," the Quillen continued. "You have been present at or near the locations of 17 sensitive conversations involving military personnel. Always by coincidence, of course. Always with a perfectly reasonable explanation." The interrogation continued for another hour. Sesthak was skilled at his job, probing for inconsistencies in her cover story. But Hana's training held. She gave him nothing but the nervous responses of a frightened civilian. Then, the lights flickered. Emergency. Power kicked in as someone triggered a massive electrical surge, somewhere in the station's power grid. Minho had begun his mission. Sesthak's head snapped up, his tongue flicking out to taste the air. What was that? The door to the interrogation room burst open. A Krelon security officer stumbled in, his uniform singed with electrical burns. "Sir, we have a major security breach in the lower levels. Someone is sabotaging our systems and transmitting data to an unknown destination." "How many intruders?" "Unknown, sir. Our sensors are being disrupted. But whoever it is, they know our security protocols better than they should." Sesthak's eyes fixed on Hana. Understanding dawned in his alien features. "You are not a cleaning lady," he said softly. "You are a spy. The time for pretending was over." Hana met his gaze directly, and for the first time in 8 months she let her true nature show in her eyes. "Yes," she said simply, "and you're all going to die." The transformation was instant and terrifying. The frightened woman vanished, replaced by something that made the aliens step backward despite themselves. Hana's posture changed. Her movements became fluid and controlled. She was no longer prey hiding from predators. She was the apex predator revealing herself at last. Sesthak lunged at her with inhuman speed, but Hana was already moving. Her chair became a weapon as she swung it into the Quillen's head with bone-crushing force. The alien crashed into the wall and lay still. The Krelon officer reached for his sidearm but never cleared the holster. Hana's kick caught him in the throat, crushing his windpipe. He dropped without making a sound. The interrogation room's door was reinforced metal, designed to keep prisoners inside. But it was also designed by aliens who didn't understand human engineering. Hana found the weakness in the doorframe and exploited it, using leverage and precise force application to tear the barrier from its mounting. The corridor beyond was filled with confused security officers responding to multiple alarms. They saw a small human woman emerge from the interrogation room and assumed she was another frightened prisoner. They were wrong. Hana moved through them like death itself. Every motion was economical and precise. These aliens were trained soldiers, but they had never faced anything like her. Her species had evolved as persistence hunters, chasing down prey across vast distances, but they had also learned to kill with brutal efficiency when cornered. The first Vorthak died before he realized she was a threat. Her fingers found the pressure point in his neck that would stop his massive heart. The second alien fell to a strike that shattered his primary breathing organ. The third managed to draw his weapon before Hana's heel caved in his skull. Chaos erupted throughout the security center. Alarms wailed as the other aliens finally understood what they were facing. But it was too late. The predator was loose among them. As Hana fought her way through the station toward Minho's position, she could hear the aliens trying to coordinate their response over their communication systems. "The human female has killed 6 officers," one voice reported. "She's moving toward the power distribution center." "How is that possible?" demanded another. "Humans are weak." "Not this one," came the reply. "Send everything we have." This is no ordinary human. For the first time in their lives, the aliens of Nexus Prime were learning what Earth's apex predator was truly capable of. The hunt had become a war, and humanity's most dangerous weapon was no longer hiding in plain sight. The station's main corridor had become a battlefield. Hana moved through the chaos like a force of nature, leaving a trail of fallen aliens in her wake. Security teams converged from all directions, but they were too slow and too predictable. They had trained to fight other aliens, not a human predator who thought 3 moves ahead of them. A squad of Kraylan soldiers tried to pin her down with concentrated plasma fire. Hana used the station's architecture against them, bouncing energy bolts off metal surfaces to create deadly ricochets. The aliens scattered, and she picked them off one by one with captured weapons that felt awkward in her human-sized hands. "All units, concentrate fire on the human female." General Vextar's voice echoed through the station's communication system. She must not reach the transmission center. But Hana wasn't heading for the transmission center. She was heading for the armory. For 8 months, she had memorized every detail of the station's layout. She knew where the aliens stored their weapons, their armor, their most dangerous equipment. If she was going to fight an entire station full of hostile aliens, she needed better tools than stolen sidearms. The armory was located on level 5, protected by multiple security barriers and automated defense systems. Under normal circumstances, breaking in would be impossible for a single person. But these were not normal circumstances. Hana had spent months planting surveillance devices throughout the station. Now she activated them all at once, creating a cascade of false alarms and system malfunctions that confused the station's computer systems. Security doors opened and closed randomly. Defense turrets fired at empty corridors. Emergency protocols triggered lockdowns in areas that had no emergencies. In the chaos, she slipped past the armory's outer defenses and found herself facing the final barrier, a vault door designed to withstand military-grade explosives. But like everything else on the station, it had been built by aliens who underestimated human ingenuity. Hana had noticed something during her cleaning duties that the station's designers had missed. The armory's ventilation system connected to the main air recycling plant, and the filters could be accessed from the maintenance shafts that she had mapped months ago. She crawled through spaces barely large enough for her small frame, following routes that larger aliens could never navigate. When she emerged inside the armory, she found herself surrounded by weapons from dozens of different species. But what she really needed was in a secured locker at the back of the room. Human military equipment that had been confiscated from previous prisoners. Her hands shook slightly as she opened the locker. Inside was a suit of adaptive combat armor in human sizes, plasma weapons calibrated for human reflexes, and most importantly, a quantum communication device that could punch through any jamming system the aliens possessed. For the first time in 8 months, Lieutenant Commander Lee Hana of the Human Defense Corps put on her real uniform. The armor flowed over her body like liquid metal, adjusting itself to her measurements and linking with her nervous system. Heads-up displays activated in her field of vision. Weapon systems came online. She was no longer a cleaning lady pretending to be harmless. She was what she had always been, humanity's finest warrior. The quantum communicator crackled to life as she established contact with Earth. Colonel Park's voice came through clearly despite the vast distance. Ghost 7, report your status. Cover blown, Colonel. Beginning data transmission now. Be advised, the aliens know about Operation Cleansing and they're moving up their timeline. Understood. We're receiving your data stream. My God, Hana, this is incredible intelligence. We can stop this. Negative on stopping it, Colonel. They're too far along. But you can prepare proper defenses. The vulnerabilities Admiral Song created in our orbital platforms can be fixed in 48 hours if our engineers work around the clock. Admiral Song? He's the traitor. Admiral Song Hyunwoo. He's been feeding them intelligence for over a year. There was a pause. That's a serious accusation, Ghost 7. I have recordings, Colonel. Everything you need to prove it. The transmission was interrupted by explosions in the corridor outside. The aliens had found the armory. Hana finished uploading her intelligence files and prepared for the final battle. Ghost 7, we're detecting massive alien fleet movements toward Earth. Can you disrupt their operations? Hana looked at the weapons surrounding her and smiled grimly. I can try, Colonel, but I need you to do something for me. Anything. Tell the families of those colonists. Tell them that someone was watching out for them. That they weren't alone out there. You're not going to die today, Hana, that's an order. The armory door exploded inward. Through the smoke and debris, Hana saw General Vextar himself leading a strike team of his best warriors. The Krelin commander's eyes widened as he saw her in full combat armor. So, he said in perfect standard, the cleaning lady reveals her true face at last. My name is Lieutenant Commander Lee Hana, she replied, raising her plasma rifle. And you've made a fatal error. What error is that, human? You assumed we were prey. Hana's finger found the trigger. But humans aren't prey. We're the things that hunt the hunters. The battle that followed would become legend among both human and alien military historians. General Vextar had brought 20 of his finest warriors to face one human female. Within minutes, half of them were dead. Hana moved through their ranks like liquid death. Her armor absorbed their energy weapons while her own shots found gaps in their defenses with surgical precision. Every movement was calculated. Every shot placed exactly where it would do maximum damage. The aliens began to understand, perhaps for the first time, what kind of species they had chosen as their enemy. Humans weren't the weak, frightened creatures they appeared to be. They were persistence hunters who had evolved to track and kill anything that ran from them. And now they had made the ultimate mistake. They had made humanity angry. General Vextar fell last, brought down by a human warrior who had spent 8 months learning every detail of his psychology and tactics. As he died, he whispered something that would haunt alien nightmares for generations to come. What are you? Hana looked down at the alien commander who had planned to destroy her species. I'm what happens when you underestimate the cleaning lady. Hours later, as human warships arrived to secure the station, Hana stood in the main docking bay watching the sunrise through the observation windows. Earth's fleet had moved to intercept the alien armada, armed with the intelligence she had died to provide them. But she wasn't dead. Against all odds, she had survived to see the dawn of humanity's greatest victory. Minho found her there, also battered but alive. Together, they had accomplished something that military historians would study for centuries. 2 invisible people had prevented the extinction of their species. What happens now? Minho asked. Hana smiled and picked up a cleaning cloth that had been dropped during the battle. Now we go back to work, she said. The galaxy is a big place, and there are always more aliens who need to learn that humans aren't as harmless as we look. In the distance, Earth's fleet engaged the alien armada in a battle that would end with humanity's enemies fleeing in defeat. They had learned too late that the species they had dismissed as weak and worthless was actually the most dangerous predator the galaxy had ever seen, and it had all started with a cleaning lady whom nobody bothered to notice. 6 months after the Battle of Nexus Prime, Lieutenant Commander Lee Hana stood in a briefing room deep beneath the streets of Seoul. Around her sat 24 other officers, men and women who shared the same quiet intensity in their eyes. They were the next generation of ghost operatives, ready to disappear into alien society as janitors, cooks, maintenance workers, and servants. Colonel Park Ji-won stood at the front of the room, his weathered face showing the strain of managing humanity's most secret war. On the screens behind him were star maps showing the locations of human agents throughout alien space. The Nexus Prime operation proved the effectiveness of our deep cover program, Park began. Thanks to the intelligence gathered by Agents Hana and Minho, Earth's defenses held against the largest alien fleet ever assembled. But more importantly, we learned something about ourselves. He activated a holographic display showing casualty reports from the battle. Admiral Song's sabotage could have destroyed our orbital platforms and left Earth defenseless. Instead, our engineers worked around the clock to fix the vulnerabilities he had created. When the alien fleet arrived, they found Earth's defenses stronger than ever. A young woman in the front row, Agent Kim Soo-young, raised her hand. "What happened to Admiral Song?" "Court-martialed and executed for treason," Park replied without emotion. But his betrayal taught us an important lesson. The aliens didn't just study our military tactics. They studied our psychology, our culture, our weaknesses. They knew exactly how to break our will to fight. But they were wrong about us, Hana added from her position at the back of the room. They thought we would surrender to protect our civilians. Instead, knowing our families were threatened made us fight harder. Park nodded. The alien alliance has collapsed. Most of the surviving commanders are fleeing back to their home systems. But this victory has created new challenges for humanity. The star map changed to show the current political situation in the galaxy. Human influence was expanding rapidly as other species sought protection from the chaos left by the failed invasion. Several species that participated in Operation Cleansing are now requesting peace treaties, Park continued. The Vorthak Empire has offered to pay war reparations. The Quillan Confederacy wants to establish trade agreements. Even some of the Nexari pirate clans are asking for amnesty in exchange for information about other hostile groups. Agent Lee Jinwan, a veteran operator who had spent 3 years posing as a cargo handler on Krelon Prime, spoke up. "Are we accepting these offers?" "Selectively," Hana answered. "The diplomatic corps is handling the formal negotiations. But they need our intelligence to know which offers are genuine and which are traps." She moved to the front of the room, taking over the briefing from Colonel Park. Her 8 months of invisibility had taught her lessons that would shape humanity's intelligence operations for decades to come. "The galaxy has learned that humans are more dangerous than they believed," she said. "But that knowledge cuts both ways. We can no longer rely on being underestimated. Future operations will require new tactics." The holographic display showed images of various alien species, many of whom the trainees had never seen before. "Some species are adapting faster than others," Hana continued. "The Krelon military has issued new training protocols specifically designed to counter human tactics. The Quillan intelligence services are developing detection methods for human agents. The war may be over, but the intelligence battle is just beginning." A younger agent, Kim Tae-hyun, raised his hand. "If they know what to look for now, how do we maintain operational security?" Minho entered the briefing room at that moment, carrying a data pad with the latest intelligence reports. His partnership with Hana had continued after Nexus Prime, and together they had developed new protocols for ghost operations. "We adapt," he said simply. The cleaning lady approach worked because aliens saw human workers as beneath their notice. "Now we need to find new ways to be invisible." He activated a new section of the holographic display, showing human civilians in various alien locations. "Our newest operatives are posing as artists, entertainers, and cultural ambassadors. The aliens are curious about human creativity after learning about our tactical capabilities. They want to understand how the same species that produces beautiful music and poetry can also produce warriors like Commander Hana." The trainees leaned forward, absorbed in the tactical discussion. These men and women would soon be scattered across the galaxy, each one a hidden guardian watching over humanity's interests. "The most important lesson from Nexus Prime," Hana said, "is that our greatest strength isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our ability to become whatever we need to be. For 8 months I convinced an entire station full of aliens that I was harmless. When the time came, I became the most dangerous thing they had ever encountered." She paused, looking at each trainee in turn. "Every one of you will face that same transformation. You'll live among aliens who see humans as weak or stupid or insignificant. You'll watch them plan terrible things and be unable to stop them immediately. But when the moment comes, when humanity needs you most, you'll shed your disguise and show them what we really are." Colonel Park stepped forward again. "Current intelligence suggests that several minor species are considering forming a new alliance against humanity. They believe that if they can eliminate us before we become too powerful, they can return to the old order where humans were just another servant species. Let them come, Agent Suyong said quietly. We'll be waiting. Hana smiled at the young woman's confidence. It reminded her of herself before Nexus Prime, before she learned what it truly meant to hunt among the hunters. Assignment briefings begin tomorrow, Park announced. You'll be deployed over the next 6 months to positions throughout alien space. Remember, you're not just spies. You're the early warning system for our entire species. The information you gather could prevent the next war before it begins. As the briefing ended and the trainees filed out, Hana remained behind with Park and Minho. The three of them had become the core leadership of humanity's intelligence operations, bound together by their shared experience of the most dangerous mission in human history. How many more are out there? Park asked, looking at the star map showing known hostile species. Dozens, Minho replied. Maybe hundreds. The galaxy is full of species that see humanity as a threat to their dominance. Good, Hana said quietly. Let them fear us. Fear keeps them from making the same mistake the Kraylans made. She walked to the window that looked out over Sol's skyline. Somewhere up there, beyond the atmosphere, human ships patrolled the space lanes that had once belonged exclusively to alien powers. The invisible war that had started with a cleaning lady was transforming the balance of power in the galaxy. There's something else, Park said. Intelligence from our agents on Vorthak Prime suggests they're developing new technologies specifically to counter human tactics. Weapons designed to exploit our biology. Armor that can withstand human strength advantages. Then we'll adapt again, Hana replied. That's what humans do. We survive, we evolve, we overcome. As night fell over Sol, the three architects of humanity's secret war prepared for the next phase of their eternal vigilance. Somewhere in the galaxy, ghost operatives were taking their positions as servants and workers, ready to become humanity's sword and shield when the time came. The aliens had learned that humans were dangerous, but they hadn't learned the most important lesson of all. They had turned a species of patient hunters into their eternal enemies. And hunters never forget their prey. In the depths of space, other species plotted and planned, believing they could still defeat the upstart humans. They would learn, as the Kraylans had learned, that the most dangerous predator is the one you never see coming. The Ghost Network was in place. Humanity's true guardians were invisible among their enemies, and Lieutenant Commander Lee Hana, the cleaning lady who had saved her species, was ready to teach the galaxy's next would-be conquerors the same lesson she had taught General Vextar. Never underestimate the human in the corner, quietly doing their job. They might be the most lethal hunter alive,